Wake up, wake up. I'm in Arizona. He's in his regular spot. It's time to talk a little Brandon Aiyuk's future, as well as maybe a little Debo, a little combine, a little golf, a little Arizona, a little let's freaking go.
The Ides of March are upon us. Oh my God, it is Monday, March 3rd. Like Larry just said, this man is not at Levi Stadium today. He is in Scottsdale. Off day for the Giants, which means Larry will kick it into spring training mode tomorrow. Today is going to be golf. Hit him straight, Larry. Hope you, Kevin, and Ben have a great day today. What a fun day you're about to have. I've got a kindergarten class that I'm going to read to, so big things going on in San Francisco here, Larry. Let's get through the combine. Let's get through the Debo trade, which also means I owe you a steak, and we'll give everybody the details on that in just a minute. But we'll start with what everyone is sort of waking up and talking about this morning, the fact that
the new Krug polos are out. Is that what everybody's waking up and talking about this morning? Look at that.
Wearing collared shirts today, all prim and proper. That's a nice looking shirt, Larry.
Krug store. I'll model it. Look, the gun show. The gun show.
Oh, look, it's Adidas. It's branded.
Feeling very good. You can go to the Krug store on YouTube and pick yourself out a golf shirt. Ben got one in blue like you're wearing. Kev got his in dark charcoal. I went light charcoal. There you go.
Let me just say, it's a better shirt than it is a spokesmodel selling that thing right now. So, no, it looks really good. And you certainly got your Scottsdale apparel ready to go. Wear the sunscreen. Have a great day, Larry. But look, man, we got ourselves a situation because, you know, as I said, I didn't think Brandon Aiyuk was going to be traded. I certainly didn't think he was going to be like the first big offseason story of the league year, but he has been. And the question is, would Brandon Aiyuk actually be next? Is there a chance? So here's what we know, Larry. It's hard to trade overpriced players. It's probably even harder to trade a player with a torn knee in week 7, which basically means he's going to be completely unavailable for the majority of the upcoming season. It's also hard to trade damaged goods. So Brandon Aiyuk is like the trifecta of hard to trade, which means if the 49ers really do have a dance partner, they should run to that dance floor, shouldn't they? If somebody is really interested in Brandon Aiyuk, even though it would leave the 49ers like just a handful of wide receivers, I think it's a transaction they're looking to make. And, you know, they have fallen out of love with Debo Samuel quickly, and it feels like it could be happening with Brandon Aiyuk.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, I don't really know how to say it other than it just seems like they're trying to get out from underneath this contract. It seems like they're trying to do Jed a solid. It sounded like John Lynch wants to hit the financial reset. It sounds to me, I mean, if you said to me, what do you think? Give me your just honest opinion based on, first I'll say to you something that you and I say often on this show. We have no sources, right? I'm not Kruger Schefter. He's not Damon Rappaport. You know, we have no sources. We're observing. We know a lot because we've covered it for years, but we're just observing and reading tea leaves. I think I made the correct guess on Debo, and my guess on Aiyuk would be, and this is no sources, I think Aiyuk could be dealt to a team that has lots of cap room and no receivers for a very paltry sum coming back. Like when I say that, I'm thinking maybe a player and a couple of day 3 draft picks. Maybe if they're 7th round picks, like I was looking at the Raiders, right? The Raiders are a perfect team. They have no receivers. They're trying to start fresh. You know, Aiyuk made some intimation that he would like to be a Raider once upon a time, or his sister did a long time ago. What would you say to Aiyuk to the Raiders? The Raiders are shopping Michael Mayer. The Niners obviously need a tight end. Mayer is a Notre Dame guy. They love their Notre Dame guys. Jed went to Notre Dame. Yep. What about Aiyuk for Michael Mayer and some day 3 picks. Now, I mentioned that I looked at the Raiders draft pick list. That's me. That's how sad I am. On a trade that I'm only me and only me is talking about. I'm looking at their draft picks, but they do have 3 6-round picks. And I'll tell you right now, if it was me, if I was John, I'd say, Pete, Tom, here's Aiyuk. Give me Michael Mayer. Give me those 3 6-round picks, and we'll throw in some of the money, right, to make it a little bit more palatable. Not a lot, but some. And you guys take a big chunk of that, and away we go. And you've got yourself a brand new receiver. We're going to hit reset on our cap, on our receiver room. We're going to go with a younger guy in Mayer who we like, and 3 6-round picks, and we'll try to find somebody, and let's all get down the road. That's what I think potentially could happen.
I think the Raiders are adding an element of difficult to get the business done to it that maybe another team wouldn't, just because we know that Mark Davis is, stubborn. He doesn't want to do business with the 49ers, even though it might benefit him. I think he just looks at the 49ers and would say rather not. But I like the premise.
But that's about when he's giving you Khalil or giving up on Max.
You're right.
This one he's getting. Right. It's Vegas. Like we just were in Vegas. What sells? 6-round picks, or we've got Brandon Aiyuk come out and watch the Raiders on Sunday. I think the Raiders badly need a draw of some kind. I'm not saying Aiyuk is a draw, but he's more of a draw than Michael Mayer and 3 6-round picks. So we'll see.
Let me paint it this way.
Could be the Patriots too, Damon.
Well, so you're the 49ers. Yeah, you're the 49ers and you want to trade Brandon Aiyuk. You're motivated to do this. You got to find a partner that is going to be the right partner. And to me, the right partner to trade for Brandon Aiyuk is a team that is basically thinking about tanking next year. You're getting an asset that you're not going to be able to even see on the field, probably as a practice participant, until mid-November, December. So you're basically trading for a year of Brandon Aiyuk you're not getting. That falls in line with a team that is already building towards a better 2026, doesn't it? So who is tanking? Who's ready to kick the can down the road a year and feel like when we do come on back with our QB of the future or a developed, he had his redshirt year in the NFL, the 2026 team that wants to do something then, I think, is a really good dance partner for Brandon Aiyuk. Now, I don't even know who that is. Who is most likely to suck this upcoming NFL season? Who's going to be the first in line to start singing the Tanka 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 theme song?
Patriots and Raiders. Patriots and Raiders. And they also have tons of cap room. So, I mean, this is just my read. Okay, first of all, we have to learn some lessons, right, as Niner fans. And here's the lesson that needs to be learned. John Lynch, for the most part, and Kyle Shanahan tell you the truth. They either don't tell you or you get the truth. John Lynch said to us in December when people intimated or asked about the future of Debo, he said, we're not going to give him away. We're going to trade him. And yet lots of reputable people were like, they're gonna give him away. They're gonna release him. Heck, you and I made a bet about it the other day. So you obviously were, and I know you're influenced obviously by the same stories everybody is, right? You read all the stories, people saying, oh, they're gonna release him. It's in their financial best interest. Blah blah blah. The cap, this and that. They're gonna release him. They're not gonna trade him. They'll take a cap hit. Don't be an idiot. Whatever. John told us the truth. Okay, and then what did he do the other day at the combine? I kind of think he told us the truth again. Our good friend Chase Sr. asked him a very clear question. What's up with the Aiyuk rumors? And when asked what's up with the Aiyuk rumors, he jumped in with we need a reset. We've spent more cash. We're second in cash spending. First of all, how many Niner fans are walking around knowing that stat? I'm quoting that stat. That's the 49er stat of the night tonight on KMBR's Niners Nightly is the 49ers are second in the NFL in cash spending. And the only reason any of us know that is because John Lynch told us that. And that means that somebody in the front office, most likely Parag or Jed, told him that, hey, John, you're going to be trading Brandon Aiyuk for pennies on the dollar because we're the highest cash spending team, and that's got to end, especially when we're winning 6 games. So either you got to go or you got to take that money off my back something's going to go. Either I'm getting that money back or you're gone. Probably. I'm not saying that Jed was going to fire him, but I'm just saying there's some tough talk going on for real.
Right. Look at this. Financial liquidity is a no-go territory for most ownership. It's like, hey, we'll work around the margins and we'll play the game right up until the game means we don't have money for that. And that's what second and financial spending is. It's literally cash out on your players and liquidity. So that is something to be concerned about. That's more of a concern almost than the salary cap itself.
There's a belief, I believe, internally that maybe the Niners overpaid for Bosa, that the ownership group was not in love with the Aiyuk signing. And here we are a year later. I mean, if the Niners are going to part with, it's basically, I was telling somebody the other day about this, and I'm like, it's kind of like, hey, I bought a Bentley for $150 or $175, and I got in an accident, and now it's got a bent frame, but I'll give it to you for $40,000. You want it? Do you want a $150,000 Bentley, $150,000 Bentley? It's a month old or a year old, but it's been in an accident. It's got a bent frame, so eventually it's going to probably have other problems and that kind of thing. But you can get it for like $30,000-$40,000. Would you do it? It's like, I wouldn't do it, but you know what? Somebody who wants to be fronting, I got a brand new Bentley and has reasons to do that might. And the Raiders seem like that kind of. Don't they seem like the kind of organization that would want to front that they've got a Bentley when it's really a bent frame that they paid $30,000 for? I could see it. And that's J49, the Bentley analogy. Thank you.
Well, and the thing is too, even though it's got a little body work that needs to be done, for a minute there, Brandon Aiyuk was Bentley-ish. He really was. There was a reason why the 49ers paid them what they did. There was a reason both you and I were on team re-sign Brandon Aiyuk. I thought he was a very valuable piece of the puzzle. You got to look at the puzzle again now. Without Debo even being in it, you'd think Brandon Ayuk's value to the 49ers would even increase. But that's not what they're talking. That's not how they're sounding or positioning themselves. Like you said, maybe John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan don't do much public media because they're bad liars. They lean into the truth, and maybe the truth tips their hand. So, look, I still think that Brandon Aiyuk can be a good player in this league, the same way that I still think Debo Samuel has something to offer this league. But if you can get out right now, it's also a really good time to get out of it if you're the 49ers. I would not be surprised. How about this, Larry? I will not be betting any steak dinners on Brandon Aiyuk's future. After I'm down one steak dinner to you, I'm guessing you're going to go bone-in ribeye wherever we end up going because you're a man of taste and distinction. But we are going to, when it came to the whole Debo situation, what we handicapped correctly, the both of us, was compensation. We both thought 5th rounder tops. So we got that. The element that I handicapped correctly is nobody is going to be coming for Brandon Aiyuk for Debo Samuel without a previous relationship, which led us to D'Amico in Houston and Adam Peters in DC. And sure enough, he ends up in DC. So we know that. Would they really do it? Was the one thing that I just thought the 49ers might not, but that was the second and cash out thing. Here's where I think we need to just sort of reset how we look at any transaction, Larry. Dead cap money, which seems to be a huge reason to not do something, is no longer a reason to not do anything in the NFL. You got teams with catastrophic dead cap hits, like the Denver Broncos with the whole Russell Wilson deal, making the playoffs. Like the new don't worry about that stat in football is the dead cap number. It seems like teams are dancing around it like devil may care. They just don't give a shit.
Yeah. There's no question. I think it's a good point. As time goes on, teams are getting better, more creative at dealing with the cap and enabling themselves to compete on a yearly basis. You don't see, like in MLB, you see all kinds of teams shutting it down. We're at spring training. There's probably 7 to 10 teams that are already kind of thinking about 2026. And the Giants might be one of them, actually, can be completely honest.
They should be.
Everybody's, they aren't actually. They really believe have a good thing going down here. We'll get into that at another time.
That's adorable.
but you know what I'm saying? There's a bunch of teams that are in worse spots than the Giants. The San Francisco Giants. The Giants are favored to win, or the over under 79.5 or whatever. There's all these teams that are predicted to win 60 games. Those teams have shut it down. That doesn't happen in the NFL for the most part. Everybody's kind of in it to win it on a year-to-year basis. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. I think you're totally spot on the take that it's going to take somebody who doesn't need to win this year, but needs to win the deal. So I think if you're first of all, if you're trading Brandon Aiyuk for, you know, a player that you don't want and 3 late day 3 picks, that's as cheap as it gets. As far as you're not getting a player his age with his credentials for that price. So, you know, I mean, I could see where it could happen. Now, the reason I'm saying this, guys, is that John Lynch told Chase Sr. in the middle of that Aiyuk answer, he's like, you know, he's talking about, well, you know, we need to hit a reset. This is where we rank in cash. You can't continue, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, and then he kind of pauses and he goes, you know, but it could be a good thing because we do need to get younger. But it's like he's having an entire discussion with himself.
Right. He's an internal monologue into a microphone.
Right. And it's like, if you listen to that thing closely, it's like screams at you. It screams at you. They're getting off of Aiyuk at a loss, a major loss, and they're probably going to get a couple picks that he can then say are young players. In reality, they're also known as 6th-round picks. But you know what I mean? And now there's a report this morning. Tim Kawakami is talking about replacing Deebo Samuel in the wide receiver room. And it's kind of an interesting quote. It's on Coach Yak's Twitter at Coach_Yak. Coach Yak, how you doing, bro? He says, Tim Kawakami on the 49ers replacing Deebo's spot in the wide receiver room. I've heard they don't think they need to get a better wide receiver. I've heard they like the guys they got. I'll tell you the name I've heard, Tariq Owens. I think he was good on the practice squad. This is Kawakami via a podcast. I'll say this about Tariq Owens. He's young, he's athletic, he's talented. There's no question, but that is a freaking way huge projection. If I've ever heard one, to project a guy who didn't play hardly any ball. I mean, didn't even play football until he was a sophomore in high school. Didn't start and get serious about it until he was a senior in high school. I realize T.O.'s got great genes, Damon, but right. Come on. I mean, you're telling me that Tariq Owens is going to become a wide receiver of significance in the NFL? I mean, you know, I was born in the day, but it wasn't yesterday. I can't, you know, come on, man. What are we talking about?
Can I tell you the element of this whole thing that I can't believe is like it's my biggest, like, I didn't see that coming. I really didn't. There was a part of me that was thinking that the 49ers were going to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. And the cool Cold War between Shanahan and Deebo was going to thaw. And at the end of the day, they were going to say to themselves, let's keep him in a walk year. Let's get the most out of Deebo one last time. He's going to be extra motivated. He's going to come in extra shape. Everybody's up his ass about what he is in this league right now. I really thought the Niners were going to get the Ray Durham walk year out of Deebo Samuel. That's what I got the most wrong. I really think that him in a walk year might get you a pretty good football player. There's a part of me that thinks that the Commanders got themselves a pretty good football player. There's another part of me that thinks that the Commanders might have just really kind of screwed this up and didn't make themselves a much better football team at all. I still don't know which guy is going to walk into the room next year, and that's the reason to walk away. You've got to be more consistent than Deebo has been. So it's pretty interesting, man. I thought Warren Sharp, you know, you and I both admire his work, and he wrote a pretty interesting breakdown on just why this happened. And he said, look, Deebo struggled massively after the catch in 2024. And that's what he is. That's what he does. He had a career best 8.9 yards after the catch in 2021. That dropped to a career worst 4.7 just last season. He didn't win as many targets at wideout. He delivered poor success rates. His success rate, target rate were both career lows when aligned at wideout. On all other targets, though, when they put him in the slot or they used him as a receiver coming out of the backfield, he had a career high in yards per catch at 16. So, it seems like there is still a right way to use Debo. There's a wrong way to use Debo. It felt like Kyle Shanahan did everything he could to explore the wrong way to use Debo all last year. Everything felt predictable when Debo would get a touch. Maybe Cliff Kingsbury got his chess piece. The 49ers are clearly betting that he didn't.
I don't know if I even agree with that, Damon. I think they understand that Debo's going to be good. They're in a cap crisis. They're about to pay. Brock Purdy is going to get north of $100 million guaranteed. That money, if the Niners are going to do this contract the way they want to do it, and they are, which is they're going to spread it out. They're not going to give them monster money up front, or they are up front. But I mean, I'm saying they're going to try to spread it out and spread that bonus money out. But when you sign somebody to that kind of a contract and you give them a big chunk in bonus money and you get to spread that money out, that's the advantages. The disadvantage is that money has to either go directly to the player on day one, or from the team side, it has to go into an escrow. So you're talking about, you got to have $100 million cash
in the bank.
This is an ownership, not just it's got to be liquid. It's going to be $100 million liquid, ready to roll. I just sent you $100 million. Did you get it? Oh yeah, I checked my phone. I got it. Wouldn't that be a great day? You look at your phone. Yes, I got the $100 million. Thank you. That
ding comes in and you're like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. How could you not do something?
You know what, Larry? You can have the A5 Wagyu steak after all. You go for it.
Yeah, order one for a doggy bag and we'll give it to our dog. But by the way, but Steve Supremo, by the way, TO2 Tariq will ball out. Larry throwing shade on him since day one. I'm not throwing shade. I'm just believe me, I'm the guy who's actually watched him work out more than all of you guys combined. I can see the talent, but he's it's like saying that somebody's going to play in the Boston, opera, Boston Pops or something, and they just took up violin the other day.
Right. It's started playing the oboe on Wednesday, but here we are,
right.
ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. You're going to play tonight, and in front of thousands.
And here's the thing. You know what? When it comes to, what I like most about Shedeur Sanders? His dad's genes. What do I like most about T.O.'s kid? He's T.O.'s kid. That has to count for something. But in a year where the 49ers were desperate for another guy to step on the field, and even if they weren't playing that day, another guy to dress at the position, he didn't crack a single sniff of an NFL game last year when there were a lot of opportunities. So to immediately pivot to that guy could be the answer, that's a big pivot. Now, he could be. He might be. But to bank on that, to hedge that, we're good because T.O. is in the system, that's T.O. Jr. No, that's an awful lot. Now, he might be. Can we go over winners and losers, by the way?
But before we get to that, okay. I mean, it's the Kawakami thing, and it's not like Kawakami's saying he believes in Tariq Owens. Everybody's got a different role here, right? Kawakami's role is to tell you what he's heard. My role is to tell you if that guy's any good. And I don't think that guy's any good.
Now, my role is to tell you when Larry's out of his fucking mind.
Right. The 49er current wide receiver room, though. I mean, because ask yourself this, and I would say this very straight to anybody, Kyle, John, players, anybody. At the beginning of a football season, you can literally draw a line through a number of teams in the league. They can't do it. And to me, this is a can't do it wide receiver room. Right now, the Niners have Aiyuk, probably back in November, Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall. He has Chris Conley here, but Chris Conley's not here. He's a free agent. Jacob Cowing, Tariq Owens, Isaiah Hodgins, Russell Gage, Trent Taylor. That's not a Super Bowl wide receiver core. That's not helping out Brock Purdy. That's not, you want to give Brock Purdy the money? Are we trying to frame Brock Purdy, or are we trying to be successful? Because you're not going to be successful if you pay Brock Purdy pay him this big money, all these expectations. He's got to do it. And then you've got a broken down Christian McCaffrey with two bad Achilles, a of subpar, below average NFL offensive line, one tight end of note, and that receiving core. You're not going to the Super Bowl. I'm drawing a line through you. You got no shot. So they better get real. Now, it doesn't have to be Luther Burden. I'll tell you the guy that I'm most excited about right now is this guy named Dante Thornton from Tennessee, who ran 4.4 flat at like 6'4", 215 pounds. Damon, this guy's film is phenomenal. Dante Thornton, probably going to be a day 3 guy. Maybe, yeah, definitely going to be a day 3 guy. But, they got to get themselves a receiver. Or receivers, because that group, I like Jennings, possession guy. I like Pearsall, continuity piece. Cowing, I like as a speedster down the road, but he's 170 pounds. It's year 2. We'll see. Tariq Owens is just a flyer on a big athletic guy with traits. Hodgins, I do like a little bit, but once again, slower, chain mover. Gage is just a guy. Trent Taylor's got a pass, not a future. So, I mean, that's what you got. The Eagles are releasing Darius Slay, by the way. That just came down. So Darius Slay, you're out. He's out there.
Dude, but anyway, 2 years ago, he was one of the 3 best corners in all of football, and obviously he wasn't bad enough this year to prevent the Eagles from winning a Super Bowl. I don't know if he's who he used to be, but I
Eagles save $4.3 million on the cap by saying goodbye to Slay. Slay said he's not going to retire. He wants to come back, so we'll see. He wants to come back for one more year. But yeah, that's just basically my thought on the Niner receivers. I don't think that, like, Kawakami's not saying their receivers are good enough. He's saying the Niners think their receivers are good enough. I hope they're playing possum and just being, this lying season between now and the draft, because if they really think their receiving group is good enough, not only are they not going to win the Super Bowl, they're probably not going anywhere for a while, because that means they really don't know personnel. If they really think their wide receiver room is Super Bowl caliber, now I'm worried about their personnel evaluation ability.
Here's the thing: you can take away from your wide receiver room if your running game behind an offensive line that is officially punching the "we are no joke" button. You can get better. You protect your quarterback long enough, all of a sudden receivers are popping open and guys are better than you thought they were. I think an awful lot of 49ers success starts again along that offensive line. And we're going to talk about that when we get into our combine crushes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Real quick, when it comes to Debo, I want to go through what I think are the winners and losers, the clear winners and losers of this Debo trade, starting with Jaden Daniels himself. Like, he has a very interesting player now out there. Cliff Kingsbury has a very interesting chess piece. Now, it's a chess piece that Kyle Shanahan was ready to walk away from. So that's a chess piece that comes with a big flashing red light over it. But, this is what the Commanders wanted. The biggest winner, though, I really think, is Terry McLaurin. At best, he's got a teammate that's going to help get him open. At worst, there's a new guy in the room at his position who isn't going to take a single snap away from him. McLaurin can only win by this, right? I mean, Debo's not taking anything off of his plate and might actually, with someone else to really having to cover, it helps McLaurin out. So I think that he's a winner here. I think that the 49ers are not winners at this time. I'm not saying that they won't become it, but it's hard to chalk this up to addition by subtraction at this particular time. Not yet anyways. It's going to change how the 49ers have to approach this upcoming draft. I think it definitely puts a wide receiver on their plate as a day 2 pick, very early day 3 pick. It needs to now be a bigger priority than I assumed it was going to be going into this draft. Ricky Pearsall is a huge winner in this. Juwan Jennings is a big winner in this. Jacob Cowing, come on down. You are the next contestant on Can This Guy Play Wide Receiver? Let's see what Jacob Cowing looks like. He, I think, is a huge winner in all this. And the other guy, I don't mean it's specifically him, Larry. The Darius Slayton-ish guy out there. The Darius Slayton-like free agent wide receiver. A guy that isn't sexy, that isn't expensive, that isn't too desired, but the 49ers think that they can sign and really get something out of. I'm not saying it's Darius Slayton, but a Darius Slayton type. A guy whose phone is not ringing at the stroke of midnight on free agency. Guy whose phone rings the following Tuesday at lunch. That's the wide receiver that I think is going to be a big winner in this, because the 49ers need to find him. The 49ers have to sign some free agent of, not great reputation, but good reputation, a little bit older in his career. Shanahan's going to want to give him a shot. Whoever that guy is, he's a winner in this.
The fact they don't have that guy. That guy doesn't exist. But as far as
they need to find him. They need to find the wide receiver who Shanahan can get something out of, that isn't going to cost them much, whose reputation is good, not great, who's not going to have 9 teams beating down his door the first hour of free agency. Someone who's officially, like, when you read the tweet that the 49ers signed him, you're like, okay. But then that guy shows up and plays well, plays better than you thought he would. I don't know who he is, but they need to find him.
I mean, I don't know. It's like you're kind of cutting it both ways there. You're saying that the Commanders receivers are going to be better off for having Debo, but then the Niner receivers are going to be better off because Debo's not there.
Well, that's the thing. They're going to get opportunities. Pearsall, Jennings, Cowing, they now get opportunities. Well, here's the thing. Jennings was getting his opportunities, but Pearsall and Cowing, like, you guys just both of you took a step up the depth chart with doing nothing.
Yeah, it's like there's, it is what it is, right? I mean, the guy is a good player at the end of his career who, if he gets in great shape, is super motivated and super fired up, then yeah, his new team will benefit. But realistically, he hasn't been able to play more than 3 or 4 games without taking the kind of hit that makes him, either slow down or either miss some time or just slow down and not be the same player. So it might be unrealistic. I mean, here's the thing about it. It's like in baseball or basketball or some of these other sports, you see a guy that's towards the end of his prime and he has a bad year. Okay, but you know what? The next year he could bounce back with a good year. But in football, when you see a guy towards the end of his prime and he has a bad year, that guy never bounces back and has a good year. Rarely, if ever. It's like maybe a kicker or quarterback, but for the most part, if you're an older player, and that's the other thing. I think the reason the Niners were able to get a pick is because of his chronological age. His real age is 33, but his chronological age is 28. So people are like, "Oh, he's only 28," but no, he's football 33. And shame on the Commanders, they didn't realize it. But if he plays big, and gets in great shape, like motivated as heck and real trim and lean and fired up, which he could, then yeah, the Commanders are trying to win a Super Bowl with Jaden Daniels on his rookie contract. And this will, if nothing else, will send a message to the rest of the locker room. We're in it to win it. And that's a great message. It's a powerful message. So I think the guys who benefit the most would be Jaden Daniels, from the standpoint he's got a diversification of weapons now. I mean, he really does have a very diverse set of weapons. He's got Ertz, he's got Brian Robinson, he's got Austin Eckler, and then now he's got Debo, he's got Terry McLaurin, De'Ami Brown, Jamison Crowder. So then they've got some Luke McCaffrey. They have a real eclectic version of weapons, guys he can throw it to, and he's got a decent line. So, I do think those guys are the big winners there. But as far as the Niner receivers being winners, they're winners if they're going to get opportunity. But if you're not ready to seize that opportunity,
well, yes,
that's it. And how many people are? I mean, Jacob Cowing was 170 pounds and was so weak last year that he couldn't really even keep his feet.
He better come in at 85 this year.
Yeah, he better be in better shape. Now he probably will be. But like I'm still kind of my ears are ringing with the Niners told Kawakami they think their receiving room's good enough, because it most certainly is not. And this has happened before. This has happened before. They thought their defensive line was really, really good. They thought their offensive line was good enough this year. I mean, they thought they were going to the Super Bowl coming into this year, and Instead, they won 6 games. So, I'm sorry if, their optimistic view of their practice squad doesn't move me, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, I don't think you're being too harsh. I also don't think that Kawakami's been, being led around by his nostrils. Of course, the 49ers are going to say things publicly like, we believe in the guys in our room. But yeah, they have to know that they're adding wide receiver, free agent wise or draft wise in this upcoming draft. They have to now. They have a need. The other really interesting element of the Debo trade, and this speaks to the cash out, the liquidity, is that the Commanders tried to include Jonathan Allen. I mean, this is a position that the 49ers need to get better at. They tried to include Jonathan Allen, but the 49ers turned down the idea, avoided taking on a $15.5 million base salary with bonuses that pushed Josh Allen to a $17 million number next year and would have taken out nearly half of their cap room. So how about that? A really good player put on the plate for Debo, and the Niners said, no, we'll take the draft pick. That just speaks to the financial situation that they're in more than anything, because normally, yeah, you'd take Jonathan Allen.
Well, and then that really speaks to the whole message here, and this is probably what I'm going to take calls on tonight on KNBR, which is, are the Niners, do you like these moves and the Niners need a reset and good for the Niners, they're hitting the reset, or do you not like these moves because this is all prioritizing Jed's dollars over winning football?
By the way, I don't know if this is true. Yorks are strapped for cash. They just bought another Premier League team. Is that true? Did they buy another soccer team?
They did, and they are, they're selling 10% of the Niners at a valuation of $9 billion for the franchise. So they want $900 million of cash infusion from somebody to into the Niners. I mean, obviously they're leveraged, they have money, but it's about cash, and free agency is about cash. And I think all these moves are about taking, you want me, I'm Jed, you're John. Hey, John, you want me to be cool going forward with your 6-win football team, or our 6-win football team, and you running it? Well, how about take a little off my plate? We're spending. Do you realize, John, that we've spent the second most cash of any team in pro football? Hey, you want me to be in your corner? You got to be in my corner, and you got to be you got to not just fight for players. You got to fight for my cash when the time is right, and the time is right. You guys are going to win 6 games. We need to reset here, and I think that's what's happening. So, Jonathan Allen, would he have helped the football team? Yes. Would he have helped Jed's cash? No. So they decided to say no, Jonathan Allen. Trading Debo, does that make them a better football team, or does that help Jed's cash? That helps Jed's cash. Selling Aiyuk off for pennies on the dollar, if that goes down, is that going to be a move to make you a better football team, or is that about Jed's cash? These are moves about Jed's cash, and I'm not saying Jed's evil, or Jed doesn't have, these aren't good decisions in the long run. But I'm not going to sit there and try to sell this as, I'm not going to be like some guy who thinks from the Niner perspective and then tweets it back. If this is all part of the master plan, you idiots.
Right. There's not a lot of football nobility happening here. This is business.
This is about Jed's expenditures and the York family's expenditures and getting their books right. And then they'll start building up the football team again. And as I said, I've already told you guys, I really believe that Aiyuk is going to get moved, and I think he's going to get moved for a paltry sum, but it will include picks, which means younger players, cheaper talent. In the long run, if you make good decisions, and you got to have confidence that you will, I think this could be a really good thing. But I think PR wise, though, it's going to be a bad thing, and I think John understands that, and that's why he gave Chase Sr. that answer on whatever day it was, Wednesday of Combine Week.
The 49ers need to crush this draft. There's just
no doubt.
If you're really asking, is Kyle Shanahan the 49ers head coach 2-3 seasons from now? That answer will be the same answer to did the 49ers crush the 2025 draft? If the answer is yes, did they crush the draft? I bet you it's yes, Kyle's still the coach. If it's no, I bet you he's gone. That is how big of an offseason this is. There is no faster way for a 49er, for any NFL team to save money than start rookies. That is the number one way to do it. So let's see what they do. This is just a massive draft. And again, they got another pick now, a fifth for Debo. So that gives them, 12 picks, Larry? They got 11, 43, 75. Projected compensatory of 99 in the third round. They have 3 fourth rounders, 112, 138, 139. They now have a fifth rounder, which they did not have before, from Washington at 148. They're going to be picking at 189. And then 228, 232, 255. If you wanted that 15-man draft class, you trade back. By the way, I think I'm picking at 11, but I might trade back from the second or third. I don't think I'm coming off number 11 because I got a draft crush now, Larry. After the combine, we know who he is.
Okay. Wait, no, I don't know who it is.
I think we're rolling with Armand Membo at 11. Just saying this. Let's not overthink this. Let's not overthink this. Let's not overthink this. But the 49ers they got a really interesting draft board. Like, they can play this in a lot of different directions, knowing that trading up isn't going to be one of them. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays.
Yeah, I don't see him trading up, but you never know. You never know. I mean, here's the other thing too. It's like, the best receivers in the draft are falling in their lap, it looks like. But they just went receiver, and they like their receivers, according to Tim's reporting. So,
questioning.
No, I'm not questioning. I'm just questioning whether the wisdom of the decisions. I'm sure that Tim heard that.
They can't look at it. If they're playing 11, they can't go wide receiver at 11. I don't care who the fuck is there. I think they got to go offensive line, defensive line at 11.
We don't even, Damon, we don't even know what these guys worked out at. What did McMillan run? I didn't see McMillan's 40. What was Teteroa with McMillan's 40?
I don't have it right in front of me. Let me see if I can find it.
NFL.com. See do we know what his 40 was? I'm eager to see what he runs. I mean, his ball skills are amazing. So if the guy ran a killer 40, then maybe he will be there. He won't be there for them. But I mean, he might be he might be exactly the kind of receiver they need. Now, you're right. They need to bolster their offensive line. Membu would be a great
run. Getting a lot of didn't run here. I Googled it. I didn't see
didn't run.
Getting a lot of didn't run.
Okay. Yeah, did not run. So, yeah. So, I mean, to me, he's a...
I'll tell you who did run. Membu. Like the wind. Get that guy. Holy shit. That's the guy.
Yeah,
That's the pick at 11. Guy ran the second fastest 40 of all offensive linemen, the third fastest 10-yard split. He is 332 pounds. He had a 9'7" broad jump. Every single, did he put it on tape? Yes, he did. Now let's measure him against NFL talent. Holy shit. To me, this is the pick. This is the pick at 11. You start him either at right tackle or left guard, and he is your heir apparent to maybe take over for Trent Williams one day. I think Membo's the pick at 11.
I mean, he had a good combine, but I mean, I knew he'd have a good combine. He's a great athlete. He's an incredible athlete. I mean, depends if you want to go offensive line there. I mean, I don't think the 49ers are going to go offensive line there. I
do want to go offensive line only because of supply and demand. A guy who could be a future tackle can be a starting offensive lineman today. I don't know how many of those are going to be around on days 2 or 3, where the defensive line and other positions are much deeper, just from a supply and demand standpoint. I think I'm going O-line at 11 if I'm the 49ers. It's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's not crazy. It's not wild at all. It's but they just, their stated goal is that they, that they believe that they can find offensive linemen later. Last year they found Pooney in the 3rd round. I mean, I'll say this. Membu is, I love the I love first of all, the most important stat for the offensive lineman is the 10-yard shuttle.
Yep.
And the best one was Connerly from Oregon, 171. And then Jared Wilson, the center from Georgia, who was very impressive, 172. And Membu was 174. Membu also had a 4.91 40 and a 9'7" broad jump. That broad jump was number one. So yeah, I definitely liked Membu a lot coming into this thing, and I definitely like him a lot, now. As far as does that mean that he's in front of, the defensive linemen, the other players that
Nolan, Pierce Jr., Turner.
Well, I'll tell you what I think is even a safer pick than Membu, and that it could be a position of major need, is the defensive backs. I mean, you look at the cornerbacks. I mean, Jahdae Barron, the nickel corner that Brian Branch is just so valuable as well. And Barron was the Thorpe Award winner, and then he runs 4.39. So here's my thing. You really kick butt when you find the guys who are great football players who also work out like stars. And Jahdae Barron running the way he ran and the way the drills, what I saw, and then you factor in what he is as a player, I kind of think he's Brian Branch. And it's time for the 49ers, Damon, to look away from the dreaded need list and go find great players. There are great players in this draft. Go find great players who are great athletes. That's how you get Brian Branch, and that's how you win in the NFL, when you have great players. I know they need offensive linemen, but you know what? What you really need is you need a starting left guard, because Banks is moving on, and you probably could use a starting center. But you also need to find great players, and a great nickel corner like Jahdae Barron. I don't know, man. I mean, you're going to let Mooney walk.
Let me ask you, week one.
It's Robert Saleh.
Week one, starting for the 49ers at left guard, Ben Bartch. You comfortable with that?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I am comfortable with that. Now, I would like to upgrade my offensive line, but my point is this. The offensive line is a technique position. It's very, 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 very rare that these guys are just ready to step in and dominate the way that Pooney did, where he stepped in, he played really well. So if you feel like you got a plug and play player, fine. But you know what? There's been bad teams drafting premier offensive linemen at the top of the draft for a long freaking time, and they stay bad teams. Why? Because the people who handle the football aren't any good. The defense is not any good. So all I'm saying is,
but I don't think Brad Holmes, philosophically. I don't.
Brad Holmes, you need an offensive line, but Brad Holmes, is becoming a great GM, and the Lions are becoming a Super Bowl contender because he keeps drafting great freaking players. I'm not saying Membu's not a great freaking player. I love the way he worked out, but I think you can find an offensive lineman in the third round. And I just think that I would want to me, the safer play, and you got to remember this, put yourself in John Lynch's shoes. These guys bust for a lot of reasons. You got to find the NFL draft is about identifying false favorites. Everybody's an All-American. Everybody's a great athlete. Everybody was the best player in their team. Everybody's the greatest. Everybody's got college film that looks great. You got to figure out who's going to fail, why they're going to fail, and avoid them. And you got to find the guys who you think are going to be stars, and you got to draft them. And if you draft stars, I mean, like, go back and look at the Niners draft from 2017 on with this regime. Was the first draft, if people start looking at it, be like, well, yeah, they screwed up. They didn't get Foster and they didn't get, Solomon Thomas, but they got George Kittle in the 5th round. And it's like, yeah, exactly. See, you're proving my point. You got one great player out of that draft in the 5th round, and you are 5 years later going, it wasn't that bad because you got a great player. So isn't that really the name of the game? Get great players and swing for great players. Stop drafting fucking kickers in the 3rd fucking round and draft great players.
And remember on Friday,
there's no chance that your kicker is going to be a great player in the 3rd freaking round, and he's not. So stop doing that and go for home runs and great players in every freaking round, and you're going to miss some. But guess what? If you hit 3 or 4, you have 7 busts, but you hit 4 Pro Bowlers. Guess what? You're a star GM. You drafted 4 Pro Bowlers in 1 year. Nobody's going to care about those 7 misses. So stop swinging for singles, start swinging for home runs, and that's how you build your team into a great team. If you hit at a high clip, you become a great team almost instantaneously.
Yeah.
But no more kickers.
So on Friday, we were talking about how maybe the 49ers can be the beneficiary of the guy who had great tape, but a bad workout. Because I'll take, I can look past a bad workout if you got great tape. And you know who I think checks that box maybe more than anybody coming out of this combine?
Who?
Is Tyler Booker, the Alabama center. Now, you and I have been
talking.
Guard. Could he slip over though?
Well, I mean, I don't know. He's never. I don't believe he's played center, but he's a house of a guard. Damon.
So
he's an interior strength, unbelievable player.
Great tape, bad workout. So maybe that's a guy who is one of those, don't worry about it. He's football fast enough on game day. Get past that bad workout. He's not a workout All-American, but he's an actual on the football field level All-American. That when I said that the Niners need to be the beneficiary of somebody not taking the combine seriously, and then that player falls to them later in the draft, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not saying root for damaged goods. Tyler.
That's a good name. I mean, let me throw that other one to you. And on the other same note, from Alabama, like Booker, you're right. He was a great player, dominating blocker. Like if you have Tyler Booker on your interior, you now can run the ball inside the 5 because he's that kind of a road grader. But then you look at, and you're right. I don't know why he wasn't good at the combine, but if he doesn't take it seriously, now I got to wonder about his motivation, because it is the biggest job interview of your life. If you're not taking it seriously, you're fucked up. But CJ Dupre, who? CJ Dupre. Anybody? Has anybody heard of CJ Dupre? No.
Is that a tight end?
He's a tight end for Bama.
See?
But here we go. I mean, this guy ran a 1.56 10-yard split, second only to Mitchell Evans from Notre Dame. He had a 4.69 40-yard dash, phenomenal 40 at 6'5", 262 pounds. He had 32 reps of 225 pounds. The next tight end had 22. He had 10 more reps on the bench than any other tight end. But guess what? He's got 3 touchdowns in his career. 3, as in like me and you and one other person. 3 career touchdowns in his entire time at Alabama. So just because you go to Alabama doesn't mean you're great. Cam Latu. And just because you test well doesn't mean you're great. And I think you're pointing to, we're looking at opposite ends of the spectrum. CJ Dupre tested like an awesome player and probably is going to be an NFL caliber athlete, but is probably just going to be a guy in the league.
Well, here's the deal. He could be a blocking tight end for 11 years in the league. Who knows? I mean, if you are Alabama's head coach and you got talent everywhere, the guy who just out-repped everybody at the combine is probably someone you're using as beef in goal-to-go situations more than as targets. So it's like guys almost get pigeonholed into their attributes, and he's obviously as strong as a house, right? I don't 225.
Yeah, I don't want a blocking tight end in the 3rd fucking round.
No, not 3rd round. No.
And Harold Fannin, for example, ran 1.56 in the 10-yard split. He has 22 career touchdowns, 22 compared to 3 for Dupre. And they're probably going to go in a similar neighborhood around the draft because their workout numbers are pretty similar. My point is just that Dupre is a combine hero. That guy Dawkins, whatever, for let's see, I wrote it down the other day. The guy for Georgia, Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, who basically looked like just a 1st-round draft choice in the workouts, but I mean, he barely played. He's Robert Beal. So don't fall in love with the 4'4", 6'5", 260 Robert Beals. Those are Robert Beal's numbers. What's he done for the Niners? Do they not need him? Oh, no, they need him. Do they not need somebody opposite Nick Bosa? No, they do. Well, is he 6'5", 260 and runs 4.4? Yeah, he is. Well, what's the problem? The problem is he's not very good. So there's a big difference between some of these workout monsters and actual good football players, and that's the job of the front office. That's why these guys get paid millions of dollars.
This is why I like Armand Membu, because he's both. He's both. He is a workout monster. He is a game tape monster. You know who else checks that box too? Is Tate Ratledge and his glorious freaking mullet bouncing around from Georgia. That guy, if the 49ers were to move back from 11 to 15 and come away with Tate Ratledge, do it. Okay. I like that too.
Armand Membu, though, has short arms. Did he not?
Does have short arms.
He does? Because, I thought watching him, he looks like he's
he's a long arm guy.
He looked like a long arm guy on film, but I thought Kev said his arms are on the shorter side. I didn't see the measurements. Did they give it arm length?
I don't have it right in front of me. I'm sorry. I didn't write down arm measurements of all the shit that I was writing down coming out of it. I will say this though, look, Larry, what do we know? Officially, like you said, we're not bringing you, it's partial regurgitation of information that we've gotten from trusted sources and the same sources that you read also on the internet. We know some people. We've been doing this a long time. Here's what we think. Here's what we feel. What can we actually prove? The answer is nothing. But it does really seem that everyone who is officially in the know says this is going to be a hell of a draft. I mean, this is a deep draft. It might not be top heavy in terms of the definitive number 1 overall pick is, the definitive number 2 overall pick is. There is still a lot of talk about the Titans even moving off of number 1. They don't know. Is it going to be Shador? Is it going to be Cam Ward? Are they going to go Travis Hunter? Are they going to go, the D lineman from, or the Penn State? There's Abdul Carter.
They're going to trade.
Yeah,
they're going to trade. They're going to trade. The Giants and Jets both want Cam Ward. They're both trying to trade with the Titans for number 1 to take Cam Ward. Cam Ward's a great player. Shador Sanders is just a dude. He's a dude with a famous dad. Shador Sanders is just a guy. Cam Ward is a star and going to be a great NFL quarterback. And as we get closer to the draft, I think the scouting community understands that. So now Tennessee is going to get a nice little haul.
I'm telling you, Larry, had this not been one of the years where I think NIL money was really keeping guys with NFL ready to go talent in school, this might have been the deepest draft of all time. Right? I mean, there are a lot of guys who would be drafted, day 2, day 3 early on, but they went back for that NIL guaranteed money and another chance to improve their status for next year's draft. Had this been an Ali oxen free, if you want pro money, you got to go be a pro draft. This could have been one of the single deepest drafts ever, even without that. I think it's going to be one of the deeper drafts we've seen. I think there are going to be starters, absolute starters, coming out of the 5th and 6th round in this draft for sure.
Well, I mean, there's 3 positions in this draft where, based on the projections that I've seen, there's no doubt there's going to be really good players at that position that are undrafted. Running back, tight end, defensive tackle. There's some amazing depth at running back. There's all kinds of guys. I mean, there's going to be good running backs that are undrafted guys. That's why it will be interesting to see if Ashton Gianti, it's one of the reports that I saw coming out of the combine is that some personnel people feel that Ashton Gianti won't even be the number 1 running back, that it's going to be a Marion Hampton from North Carolina.
He didn't have a top 10 40 time.
Yeah, well, I mean, running back, here's the one thing about running back, though. It's like, I mean, you have to remember that there's a lot of factors here. One, how you play is how you play. So it's like it's not about the combine. Right. It's about who's the best. But
it's also who you playing. And at Boise State, it's harder to thump your chest about who you play than it is for others.
Yeah, I mean, that's the rub. So if you're going to sit there, and I'm one of these people who is going to sit there and say,
by the way, very good point here. Gianti wasn't at the draft, which is why he didn't run a top 10 time. There you go. Fair enough.
Wasn't at the combine. Yeah, it wasn't at the combine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why he didn't run. But either way, he's a great player. But Damon's right. That Boise, the fact that he played at Boise is a part of the equation. And, that's a concern. I mean, I saw him against Penn State. He didn't look as good. Okay. He did not look as good against Penn State as he did against San Jose State. Shocker. All right. So it's just a matter of, exactly. There's going to be incredible backs drafted in every round of this draft.
How about Virginia Tech's Bashal Tutin? Fastest running back measured, 4.32.
He is an interesting guy because to me, the running back stat that matters is not that one. It's the 10-yard split, and he had the best 10-yard split. He had a 1.49 10-yard split. This guy runs 4.3. He's put together. He's got good explosive traits. What was really impressive about Tutin is that he is an awesome kick returner and punt returner. So if you get him, it's almost like you're getting that dynamic returner who's also kind of thick and is going to hold on to the ball. So he's a two, he can help you in two different spots. But I was going to say a guy like Trevor Etienne for Georgia. He had the second best 10-yard split, 1.51. He's quick as a hiccup. And guys like me, if after the draft, will be like, I really like Trevor Etienne. He did it in the SEC against the best competition. Well, if you like a guy because he was productive in the SEC in the best conference, then you do have to take, who you're playing and what conference you're into the equation. I'll tell you a big weekend, a guy who I thought had a huge, huge combine because he's a great football player is the Ohio State back, Quinshon Judkins. Now, they have two, right? Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. Judkins was the Ole Miss kid who transferred in. He doesn't have quite the deep speed of Travion. He's not quite the receiver. But he had a 1.51 10-yard split, which was second best, tied for second best of any running back at the combine. And he's a very productive, hard-charging, like you can't bring this guy down with one guy. I mean, he's really a tough guy to tackle. So when you hit the hole like this guy does and have that kind of speed initially, and you have production, I think Quinshon Judkins is going to be a great slam dunk pick for somebody. Quinshon Judkins is not, I cannot give him a higher compliment than this. There's a very good chance, Damon, that Quinshon Judkins next year appears on the Krugerrand fantasy team. I don't care where he is. I will find me some Quinshon Judkins the way I found me some Malik Neighbors.
Think of how reassuring that must be to him and his agents to hear you put that out publicly. That's going to increase draft stock right there. Speaking of Ohio State draft stock, Donovan Jackson might be
love him. Love him.
Well, again, one of the guys who has a little bit of a depreciated sort of feel this Monday morning because his great didn't work out great.
Well, who's also on this list, Damon, is Will Campbell. Will Campbell, who's probably going to go in the top 10, 5 or 6. And he was a starter at left tackle for LSU the last 3 years. He had good numbers on Sunday: 4.98, 40, 32-inch vertical, 9.5 broad jump, but he had 32 and 5/8 inch arms below what a lot of people feel is the minimum of 33 inches that teams look for in offensive tackles. That means he's probably going to play inside in the NFL.
That's the tweet that I saw Kev come out with this weekend. Kevin was tweeting about arm length on tackles.
Was he?
He was. Let me see if I can find it.
I'll scold him when I see him. No, yeah, he's in the next room. But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, as far as guys that could fall because of this thing, who knows? What if Will Campbell fell to 11? You could get the best offensive tackle in the draft. And you can get him just because he's got 32 and 5/8 inch arms. Screw that. Who cares? Right. Joe Staley had 33-inch arms. He was awesome. He's freaking going to go to the Hall of Fame.
Look, I mean, when you're starting left tackle at LSU for 3 years, you're a player.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing: because he's of his imperfect arm length, he might wind up in the Niners' lap at 11, and they got to decide: do they want to take a blue chip offensive tackle, but he's a little bit shorter arms?
Here's the thing: I'm taking Membu over him. I think I'm taking Membu over him.
Oh, I love Membu. I love Membu. I mean, Membu's really, really impressive. I mean, Membu is. I mean, not only that. Did you hear him grunting on the 40? I mean, it was just like
Yeah. He
he
sounded
was
like
just
Shannon Sharp not knowing his Instagram was open.
he was like Dave Parker coming down the first base line or something. Um, 6'4" and a fourth, and 33.5-inch arms. So this guy at 6'4" and a fourth, 30, those are average by NFL standards, but 34-inch vertical, 9'7" broad. He's explosive. He's a great player, man. I really, he's a total finisher. He's a total, this guy, Membu is to me, when I watched the tape, I was like, I want that guy. I want that guy. So if they do go offensive line, I got no problem with Membu. I'll say this too. You know what I'm really excited about? I'm excited
He's
about
the pick
Brady.
at 11, Larry. He's the pick at 11. I'm telling you.
I mean, he's definitely got to be in the conversation. I think there's a trade back at 11. I think they probably move back. But Brady Cook is my new favorite quarterback. I love Brady Cook. And it's not just because of the combine. I've been loving Brady Cook for about a month now. But at the combine, 4.59 in the 40, number one among all quarterbacks. 10-yard split, 1.53. He's faster in a 10-yard split than Brock Purdy, who had a 1.54. 1.53 at 6'2", 215 pounds.
By the way, if anyone wants to look at this, you can watch him and Membu. They're both Mizzou. So anyone wants to watch his tape.
And Luther Burden. Number one in vertical, 37 inches. Damon, Tyler Shugg was second. Tyler Shugg's vertical was 32 inches. He had the number one vertical by 5 inches. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Number one broad jump, 10'8". He had the number one broad jump by about a foot over Tyler Shugg. Number one in 3-cone drill. This is all among quarterbacks. Number one in the 20-yard shuttle. This guy played hurt this year. He's a great leader. He's experienced. He's a film junkie. He's super smart. He's gritty. He's thrown for over 8,500 passing yards. He's rushed for over 1,100 rush yards. Beat Iowa in the Music City bowl game and got the MVP of the bowl game. Last year was the MVP of their bowl game. This kid's projected late day 3. Brady freaking Cook, man. That's the guy that I want to see the Niners get as the backup to Purdy. Brady freaking Cook. Loved him.
I mean, he's
absolutely love him.
He's still on the board on, the middle of day 3 for sure, right?
Well, I don't know. Not after this. I mean, maybe he's a 5th round pick. We'll see. We'll see. But I'll say this: I saw a couple interviews with Missouri kids online, at different points in the year talking. And when Brady Cook's name came up, they're just like, "Yeah, man, he's a straight dog." That's my guy. It's like they love Brady Cook. And I mean, football is vitally important to this kid. This kid is amazing, man. I love me some Brady Cook. That's the kid. He's a St. Louis, Missouri kid. He got carted off the field. How many people get carted off the field in a football game at any level and come back and lead their team to victory? That happened. He must have
been jaking it. He was trying to look dramatic. He's like, "Oh, this will get the crowd fired up when I."
He's a drama queen.
Come limping out of the tunnel like you're a New York Knick great. Oh my God,
Willis Reed. Yeah,
here comes Willis. Look, you talk about a quarterback that impressed and helped himself at the draft. Now, I didn't think for a second, honestly, Larry, that Will Howard of Ohio State really had like, oh yeah, that guy's going to be a pro. I thought he was a middling Ohio State quarterback, but again, Craig Krenzel got fucking drafted, so anyone I guess who plays Ohio State quarterback can get drafted. But do you see Will Howard spray it all over during his throwing session? He didn't hit anybody.
I'm not a Will Howard guy. I mean, he's he nice guns. He had the sleeveless, and he looked more athletic than some of those other guys, but. He's big, strong, fast, and just a guy. I mean, I've heard people say he's Roethlisberger. What? Stop. I saw Roethlisberger in the MAC. Roethlisberger threw strikes on the run. This guy, when he runs, does not throw strikes. So, I mean, he's big. He will be drafted, probably overdrafted, maybe in the 3rd round by somebody who's desperate. Oh, maybe Dallas. I could see Dallas. So, You know, the other guy I thought looked kind of weak was Quinn Ewers.
Yours.
I was expecting Ewers to look really good. The talk was early in the combine week, Ewers is going to throw, he's going to put on a show, and he's going to push past some of these other guys. And I think that was the plan. But his arm, I mean, how many times did he underthrow the receiver? I mean, at least happened at least 5 or 6 times. There were other guys who were like trying to show off their arm strength, and they overthrew guys.
I think there are like 1 or 2. No way there are 3 media members to where whatever that guy's saying is probably going to be the new way that I think about it too, because he's right more often than not. The guy that you, Tom, and Rod used to have on with you, Craig Cosell. Greg Cosell is out on Quinn Ewers.
What do you mean? What do you say?
He's just like, nope. I got doubts. I got serious doubts after this. And when you lose Cosell, you're losing the room.
Well, hey, you know who did look good? My guy Riley Leonard. He looked good. And Jason here in the chat says Riley Leonard looked really good. He did. He had the baseball cap on, but you know, he just looked comfortable, man. And he's a smart kid. He's a gamer. He is a gamer. If I'm the Niners, you got Brock, you got Mordecai. You can't have a veteran. Before I was saying Joe Flacco, but now I'm kind of thinking, you know what? If they're so poor that they can't afford receivers, that they're hitting the reset, then this is a perfect time to invest in a rookie quarterback that you also like. I like Brady Cook and Riley Leonard. I think those are the gamer day 3 steal quarterbacks. I'd try to get one of those guys. I really would.
Larry, we got a ton of supers to go through. Should we hop in?
Yeah, let's do it. I'll jump over here. Here we go. I'm doing it. I got the touch screen, and I always do.
You know what? Let me go ahead.
I got it. Let me see. Let me see if I can do it on the touch screen, because I think I can. I think I like the way this is going to go. Here we go. We'll fly through them, and there'll be no mistakes. Watch. Here we go. Micah Cervantes. Everyone's so fixated on BA's dead cap, but isn't he dead cap already? He may not play the last quarter of the season or the first quarter of the season, and probably at a low level. Yeah, no, I agree.
Life is about perspective, right? And that's a good way to have perspective on the whole thing. Like, what is dead cap? A guy who's an actual dead cap count, or a guy who's just not out there playing, so who cares where the cap is going? Yeah, it's a good way to look at it.
Essentially the same thing. Haven't been able to watch live much in the last month. What?
Come on, Mike. Thank you.
Last month or so. But thank you both for all the great content. Wishing you both the best. Mike Baker. Thank you, Mike. Have a great day, bro. We got Barry Ford's in the house. He says, Damon, take Larry to Nikki Steakhouse on Division. I hear Wagyu beef is perfection.
Okay, first of all, when the bet was made, I did not hear the word Wagyu happen at any point in time. There's got to be a price point capped on this steak. We can't have a $200 steak. I'll go up to $100. I mean, I understand a good bone-in ribeye is an $80 walk down the road at just about any good steakhouse these days. I'll go to that price point on Larry, but Larry's a really good friend. He's not Wagyu good friend.
Yeah, I mean, and I wouldn't even appreciate that. I'd probably, because you know what? I'd have 4 cocktails and I'd yak it up on the way home. I'd say, honey, can you pull over? And then I'd yak up the Wagyu. So I don't waste that on me, but I'll go ribeye, and we'll bring our wives. I'll let you pick the spot. You can pick the spot.
Let's do it. We will set a date. I see that a lot of people are requesting this documented. We will actually show you Larry eating the steak, and then we'll do a short of me paying the bill, I guess, at the end of it. Everyone can celebrate that.
We got this one from Joseph Ernberg, the negative Joseph Ernberg. Joseph, I love the negativity. He says paying Brock isn't bringing successful, or isn't being successful. Hi, Damon.
I got a hi, Damon. Like he's Amy Trask at the very end. Hi.
Paying Brock isn't bringing. I think, is he saying bringing or being successful?
He hates Brock Purdy, and that is established every show.
Yes, there you go. Jeb in the house. Isaac Tesla A sleeper pick. Yes, he is. You're talking about a big receiver that started at Hillsdale College, and I believe his dad played at Hillsdale College. I have more useless information about draft prospects in the back of my head than anything. But if you ask me like all my kids' birthdays right now, I might stumble. But Isaac Tesla is a gigantic receiver who actually ran a great 40. He's a pretty great athlete. He is kind of a poor man's Debo. He's kind of a jack of all trades, an H-back, fullback. I mean, he's intriguing. He runs a little upright, so he's going to get smoked. But he is big and fast and can catch. So I do like him.
Fifth rounder, Larry? Fifth, sixth?
No, I think maybe more like sixth. Yeah. Fuji Simeon says, shocked we got a fifth for Debo. Thought we would get a sixth or a seventh. Larry, Reardon beat SI in the CCS championship. Reardon CCS champs, and they beat your kiddies. You know what? I took SI in the points, and I lost. No, Reardon's good. Reardon's good. I mean, I give it to them. They got a hell of a squad. Bob Sargent, my good friend, went to Reardon. Fuji Simeon.
That's got to be rubbing off in some way.
Yeah, he's coaching there. Did I tell that? Bob Sargent is coaching at Reardon baseball. With his son. His son's the head coach, and he's helping out.
Oh, that's all. I got to walk over there and practice and start heckling the shit out of him one day.
Dude, his son, talk about how old I am now. I'm 55. His son, Craig, when he was, Damon, like 6, no, maybe 8, maybe 7 or 8, came in studio with Sarge and I over at Sports Byline, and we put him on the mic, and he's like, hi, everybody. Now he is the head coach for Reardon baseball. I mean, it's just amazing. That's just amazing to me.
That's great.
Okay, we got that one. We got this one from Paul. He says, Jordan Birch, you can't teach 6'6", 295, running a 4.6 40 with 9 sacks in 8 games last year. Dante Thornton, former 5-star. Duck Vol, also great value wide receiver. Birch is on that Oregon line. He transferred in. He really had the moniker, Damon, of the 5-star badass who couldn't play until this year. He really busted out on that line with Jamare Caldwell and Harmon, and Jordan Birch is a legitimate defensive end. I mean, he's not a defensive tackle. He's a defensive end at 6'6", 295. I kind of agree with Paul here. I think if you could draft a guy like Birch, you might be able to get him in the 5th round. I mean, you may have traded Debo for Birch. He's a 5th round guy, I think.
I like Oregon offensive lineman Josh Connerly. Yeah,
he's good.
Really good.
You can teach this kid, or you can get this kid down to 285. I think he could be an incredible find, because you're talking about 285 pounds naturally with real bend and body burst. And Jordan Birch is very interesting prospect and could be a steal late in the draft. Kyle Willer says Niners kind of gave away what they may go with in the first 2 picks, defensive tackle. If that is the case, who are your guys' top picks and why? I'm not sure if why would they, I didn't see this. Did they give something away?
No, I don't think that they gave anything away. But to me, it's, if we know that the well that the defensive linemen are in goes all the way to the center of the earth, and the well that all the offensive linemen only goes down a couple layers, I am looking offensive linemen earlier than I'm looking defensive line in this draft. The Niners got to get better in both spots. But it would be hard to say no to Walter Nolan sitting there at 11, especially if Membu goes in that top 10, which he might have ran himself into the top 10. He might have. James Pierce Jr.
I love
I'd rather have Membu at 11 and come back on day 3 and get CJ West out of Indiana.
Yeah, that's a way to play it. I kind of like the Ariante Ursi, offensive lineman from Minnesota, who's just 6'6", 340, and had some incredible workout numbers. As far as who I would go with, once again, I like a lot of prospects. I love Kenneth Grant, tremendous player. There's a chance that Mason Graham falls down and is there for them. If not, I kind of agree with Damon. I kind of like the second tier of the tackles on the defensive side. So let's say the top tier is Mason Graham, Walter Nolan, Kenneth Grant, Derek Harmon. I like that next tier, which is Darius Alexander, Ty Robinson, Shamar Turner. I kind of like that next group, and I even like some of the next group of linemen, which is like Eric Gregory, JJ Pegues, Keontae Hamilton. Those are the guys that and then there's a whole nother level beyond that. But I'm just saying, the offense, I'm as we get closer to this thing, I'm going to see, we'll get a tighter feel for how the board's going to actually fall, because that we get more data and more. The mock drafts the week before the draft are enormously accurate. The mock drafts, right now and in the months prior are not as nearly as accurate, because you need all the info.
The best mock there is John McClain, old NFL writer out of Houston. He has been doing one of the most accurate mocks now for the better part of 20 years. So. Really? Yeah, John McClain is officially retired, but he's retired like Art Spander retired. He still does everything he used to do. He's still a games.
You know what the Eagles did last year? They went for two of the cleanest prospects in the entire draft. And when I say what's a clean prospect? A clean prospect is a guy who produced at the college level, worked out at the All-Star games among his peers and dominated, kicked all kinds of ass at the combine as well, and has no problems off the field. They've got production. They're physically dominant. They're not in the police blotter. They're really great guys and great players. When you check all those boxes, you have a very clean prospect. Quinyon Mitchell was that guy. They drafted him last year. To me, when I'm looking at this draft, I'm starting to wonder if Jedi Barron from Texas and Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky might be those guys. They were great players in the SEC, and then they come into the All-Star. They were great players in Mobile, and they're great workout guys in Indy. And I'm looking at Jedi Barron and Maxwell Hairston, two big corners who are dominating, and could be Pro Bowl players, could be stars on your defense. So,
well, look, that's what a lot of people are saying about Michigan corner Will Johnson, right? There are four
Wolverines. Will Johnson, yeah.
There are four Wolverines that are probably going in the first round. Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant are first rounders. Will Johnson, probably a first rounder. And coming in somewhere in the 20s could be Colston Loveland, who had a really good combine as their tight end, and he could be a first rounder as well. So, Michigan, a lot of Michigan could come off the board, and I do like Will Johnson. I do.
Yeah. Oh, he was the MVP of the national championship game 2 years ago. He's physically dominant, and he's in a very clean prospect, and he's an elite player. I mean, he's an elite workout guy too. So yeah, he's clean. Maitland says, Larry, how does Armand Membu from Missouri look on film? The kid blew me away at the combine. Completely agree, Damon. Sit at 11 and hope he falls to you. I think he'll be there, but what he looks like to me is just, he's got an unbelievable base. He looks like he looks like a guy who's got long arms, because he plays with his arms extended. He never, I watched a lot of him. He did not lunge. He's got real power and tenacity, but what really stands out is this guy is looking to he's looking to put that defensive lineman like 6 feet under.
Yeah.
He's just going to keep driving. There was a couple plays that looked like, that blindside play from the movie.
He plays nasty. I mean, that's the thing. You want nasty offensive linemen.
Yeah. And he's both athletic and broad. See, like, if you can there's a lot of athletic guys, but a lot of times they're narrow. And then there's broad guys, but they're not very athletic.
Larry, he's super versatile too. Like, I think he's a guy that you can absolutely start at right tackle if you want to improve at right tackle. You can absolutely start him at left guard and have him be the heir apparent and learn how to play tackle from one of the best of all time, and Trent Williams. I think he fits need. I think he fits versatility. And look at it this way. Let's say Ben Bartch shows up. He's all that in a bag of chips. Yeah, now all of a sudden this guy really is maybe replacing your right guard or your right tackle. So
maybe, or maybe Ben Bartch can play center. Maybe you say Ben Bartch plays center. I'll say, what's that? I've always lived in San Francisco, so I don't have snow knowledge. You've lived in upstate New York and Chicago. Yep. You have much better, in Indiana. You have much better snow
I've
knowledge.
Shoveled driveways, more driveways than you, buddy.
What is that thing called that's super wide, that basically scrapes the snow off the entire street in one swoop. You know, you've seen that thing. It looks like that's what Membu is. He's that wide snow scooper that just dominates.
What do you mean, like you put the snow plow? You're snow
Is it a
plowing?
road grader? Is it I thought it was called a snow scraper, maybe?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're just talking about the big blade that goes on the front of the truck and pushes the snow away. That's a snow plow.
But it does the whole street at one time.
Yeah, it's a big plow.
It's a gigantic. Yeah, I mean, that's what that guy is. I mean, he's just so wide, and yet he clears this huge lane. He's a road grader. Grader.
Clarence, thank you very much. Member now for 11 months, nearly a year. Like and subscribe to the Damon Bruce Plus. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. I agree.
Stop being a mock. What does it say? Stop being a mock and subscribe.
Don't be a mook, Larry.
There you go.
It's
Clarence Beeks in the house.
Season.
We get this one from Mark's Maine. Why were teams backing off Teteroa McMillan once they looked at him closer? What is it we're not seeing? I think he's kind of raw as a route runner, and he doesn't get a lot of separation, and he relies on his great timing to make these contested catches. That's a great thing. But when you watch him a lot, you see that all of the catches are contested because he doesn't have the ability to separate. So to me, his 40 is going to be essential. Yeah, I've had buddies who are scouts who tell me that they think he's going to run sub 4.4. So, if he runs sub 4.4 at 6'5", 210 with those kinds of ball skills and leaping ability, he's going to go really, really high. It's receivers. It's not considered a great receiver year. He played at Arizona. There's always that. And, as I said, some people think that he's other people think he's not going to run well and that he's not going to test well as a jumper. So we're going to have to find out what his real physical profile is. He dominated this year. I'll say this, Damon, when everybody and their brother knows, like if you have a good junior year, a good, year prior, and you're coming back to a team like Arizona that just lost Jacob Cowing to the NFL draft, they've got you circled, X'd, highlighted.
Right.
If you produce at all, you're badass. If you produce a ton, you're really special. And he produced a ton.
When you're the first name in every defensive meeting, a week is when a week is playing your team, you're good.
Yeah, exactly. We got this one.
If he has a good pro day at Arizona, his name's going to pop.
Believe me, we will follow the pro days throughout the month of March and April. And the bottom line is, what Damon just said is true. It's all going to come down to what kind of pro day he has. And it might be on the NFL Network. It might be that high profile. Angel Murillo says, and I didn't roll my R's there. Angel
Murillo.
There you go. Saw Devontae Adams at Disneyland about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, so this is inside information. This is
wait a second. Breaking. This is breaking. Angel. What's again, Damon?
Murillo.
Kawakami reports saw Devontae Adams at Disneyland about 2 weeks ago. I talked to him about joining the Niners, and he said, "Get out of my face. I need to go to Magic. I need to go to he asked me, where are the Disney princesses lined up in Toontown? I told him no. Okay, so I talked to him about joining the Niners, and he said if they release him, he just might. Look at that.
Solid information.
Look at that.
Be like, man,
was he wearing ears? Was he wearing ears?
I saw him hop the line at Magic Mountain. This guy's vertical is still really impressive.
Damon, can I tell you something that you'll only see at Disneyland?
Sure.
Last time I was at Disneyland a couple years ago, some badass looking dudes walking around. I mean, some big freaking tough looking dudes with a magnetic parrot on their shoulder. You see that at Disneyland.
So when Jillian, very early in our relationship, brought me to Disneyland because I'd never been, we went down to Disneyland for one of our first big vacations together. It was a Southern California trip, blah, blah, blah. We were walking around Tomorrowland, and there was one dude there who literally looked like San Quentin had just let him out. I mean, he had tattoos up to the cheekbones. I mean, he was the most cholo looking, gonna stab you fucking guy. And this is never judge a book by its cover. He's the only dude at Disneyland who came up to me. Damon Bruce, I love your show. I'm from the Bay. Oh my God. The most prisoner dude at Disneyland. And I took a picture like this. And so never judge a book by its cover. Guys with tattoos up to their eyeballs might be fantastic. But Jillian leans over. She's like, of course he knows you. Of course.
Fuji Simeon says, any surprise quarterback who could be calling or who could be called during the first round?
I think Jackson Dart, last pick of the first round, something like that. I mean, I have to look at the team who's got that pick, but I think Jackson Dart could play himself into the first round.
You know, a lot of people like Jackson Dart. I will say this: there is this new little wrinkle with the contracts, I believe, where they try to get. Seems like teams at the back of the first round do try to get quarterbacks, but after watching the combine, I would say Cam Ward goes in the first round. There was talk that maybe Shador, Jackson Dart, Milroe, Ewers, that there could be as many as 5 quarterbacks in the first round. I kind of think that's not going to happen now. I kind of think it's just going to be Cam Ward, Shador, and Dart. I think you're right. I think Dart is going to get there. Now the wild card, and I can't. I can't see him in the first round, but the wild card is Taylor Elgersma from Laurier, because he is 6'6", 215 with a gun. And he's pretty athletic, pretty smart, so we'll see. We'll see how NFL scouts and NFL GMs feel about that kid as we get closer. Somebody could see a Mahomes type skill set. I mean, not that Mahomes is 6'6", but Mahomes was a great thrower. This guy's an incredible thrower as well. Clarence Beeks in the house said, arm length, your thoughts. Arm length mean here's my thoughts on arm length. For center, it means nothing. For tackle, it means everything. Simple as that. Center and guard, nothing. Doesn't bother me at all. Tackle.
I don't know about everything, but means more. I'll give you that. Certainly means more.
Gotta have that arm length at tackle. It really. And here's the thing. I would say this: if you ever doubt me, go watch NFL close-up end zone film and watch the pass rushers against the long arm tackles versus the pass rushers against the short arm tackles from the end zone, what we call end zone tight, right? You get sideline wide is what we see on TV. Sideline tight is what the scouts watch and the teams watch. Then they also intersperse end zone film as well, and it's all end zone tight. Watch end zone tight and watch a long-armed rush tackle versus a short-arm tackle. It's all the difference in the world. We got this one from Fuji Simeon. How many IU players get drafted? Well, definitely the defensive linemen. I mean, there's no doubt. CJ West is one of the revelations of the postseason. He looked great in the Shrine game. He lit it up in the All-Star, in the Combine. He's hyperactive. He's strong. He's active. I mean, he's a good. I think he's you know what he is, if I could say it, he's DJ Jones. He's DJ Jones. He's really, really naturally strong, but he also has underrated pass rush ability. And he's got, better than average movement ability. I think he's really, he's a DJ. But how many, Damon? How many IU players? I don't know. Is Surratt this draft?
There would be one more. There would be one more if Elijah Surratt had decided to
stay in,
put his name into the draft. Omar Cooper Jr. is another guy that might have been drafted. Rourke West and Trev Weeding is a tackle that I think gets drafted. I'm going to say 3 Hoosiers get drafted, with 1 or 2 names being a undrafted free agent.
I'm your Pappy Chulo.
I'm your Pappy Chulo.
Kruger.
I don't know.
What are your thoughts on tight end Gunnar Helm from Texas? He sprained the crap out of his right ankle during a false start at the Combine, but finished all of the drills. There's a lot of people that like him. I know that. I think he's an interesting tight end prospect in a very good class. They're all it takes is his job interview, right? So there's the good and the bad. The bad is he didn't do very well. The good is that he persevered. I think he'll win over a couple teams because of that perseverance. I think he'll lose some of those teams. He might lose some draft position because of the workout numbers. But, I think ultimately there's going to be, I would say it's a big nothing burger because I think the combination, all it takes is somebody to be like, hey, man, that guy's tough as nails. So I don't think it's going to affect his draft stock. I really don't. The Jedi says, Larry Damon, hear me out. Nick Emanwari in the first. I'm cool with that. Trade back a few spots, take Nick Emanwari. Nick Emanwari is one of the greatest athletes we've seen in years. The guy's 6'4", 220, and he's got good tape, and he's physical, and he's dominating. Yeah, I mean, Nick Emanwari took over the number one safety spot from Malachi Starks, I think, with the way he played in this combine.
Man, you got talent at safety already. I know you're a big draft great players, but how's he get on the field with what you've already got? I think are a couple of really good players at safety.
He's got to play free safety if you're going to be a Niner, because the Niners have the strong safety spot locked up. This guy is big and physical. I know he can cover. I know he can run. 43-inch vertical. I'll say this: he's on my short list. I mean, he's on the short list of guys that I would be very interested in. Damon's probably right. I don't know if I can go safety right there. I'll give you the safety that I think is the steal of the draft. And some people list him as a corner. His name's Mac McWilliams, and he had the third best 40. He ran 4.41.
You got to give me a school.
UCF.
Okay.
Central Florida. Mac McWilliams. He played a little corner, but they like him as a free safety cover guy. I love.
By the way, as soon as you type Mac Mick into your Google search, you get a McClung. Mac McClung pops up real fast.
I thought you were going to get a McDonald's online menu. Joseph Ernberg, Brady would cook flaccid arm Purdy. Love you guys. Hey, love you guys. Where's the negativity in that?
By the way, so Larry and I think this is worth debating. When I say steak, I never mentally think prime rib. Now, if you wanted to go to House of Prime Rib, we could totally do that. I think prime rib is its own subset of steak.
I do. So, you know what? I love House of Prime Rib, Damon. I love it. Absolutely love it.
I'll get a reservation at the Hopper, baby.
Oh, dude, I love the House of Prime Rib. Yeah, my wife loves it as well. She and happy wife, happy life.
There you go. Never said I was going to buy Amy a steak, but all of a sudden she's involved. Okay.
Do you want to go just me? We want to bring our others. How about this? Yeah, I'll cover my wife. She's a light eater.
And my wife will cover us.
Barry Ford says, Damon, thanks for working with the kids. That's awesome. I'm retired and should be taking your lead on more community service.
Well, look, I'm going to go read to my son's kindergarten class today. And I was actually talking to his teacher, just saying like, yeah, I want to be more involved. This is a precious time in my kids' education, and I want to be more involved.
Wait a second. We have something breaking. Tim Kawakami is reporting that Damon, he has sources that says that Damon, this is actually a paid gig. This isn't community service. This is Kawakami is reporting that he has a source that says this is not, Damon will be reading to kids, but for money.
You would not believe the invoice that I'm going to send that elementary school. Oh, it's going to be very expensive.
What about my entourage? Matt, or what is it? Did I get that right?
Matt? Merle Garrett. Is Trent Williams on the trade block? No, Merle. He is not.
Jimmy Molay. What's up, Jimmy? He's a newlywed. So many good linemen in this draft. Niners cannot afford to screw this one up. Good times, 3 a.m. dropping in the Sports Byline Studios, America's largest. There you go. Coast to coast, border to border. We've got you locked in to Sports Byline USA.
Yeah. At 3 a.m., you got Todd Herson smoking bowls in a freaking, freight elevator. Those are good days.
Fuji Simeon. How should I feel about the upcoming San Francisco Giants season?
Indifferent.
You know what? We were at the game yesterday. Luis Matos parked one deep. I'd say Luis Matos and Marco Luciano are this year's version of Elliot Ramos from last year.
If they're not, enjoy fifth place.
Oh, come on. The Rockies. The Giants are being fourth. Angel, Damon.
Murillo.
he wasn't wearing ears, but I felt like an a-hole because he was with his family, and after I talked to him, everyone else realized who he was, and he got
Brought
mobbed.
the attention to him. Brought the
Oh, wait a
attention
second.
to him.
Angel, you know what? That's called the Larry Krueger move. You go up to somebody in the locker room. Hey, man, you got Talanoa. You got a minute for me in the post game? And he starts looking around because he knows there's a horde of media people, and he'd be like, yeah. And he kind of
A bunch of microphones come into the picture.
All of a sudden,
picking up all the audio of your exclusive.
There's lighting. You see, there's lighting over the back of your shoulder. Now the NFL Network's there. Now there's some candy ass TV person who's like seriously afraid to go up to anybody right there. Everybody's trying to take your shot. And then you have to sit there and say, "Oh, sorry, Talanoa." Then you walk, and then I slither away only to see him
bring all this attention to you.
Yeah. All right. We got this one from Jim Molay. He says, "I typically go end zone tight until they announce last call. Then it's sideline wide all the way." That is awesome. Jimmy. Chris Olig says, drop 5 to 10 spots, get a second rounder, Ursi or Donovan Jackson. Yeah, no, I think that's smart, Chris. I think that's really a smart play. I think that is a way that I would go. I like that thinking, though. And we have the last one here from LD Studios. How do you feel about Guerrero doing Debo plays? It's coming.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, guess what? If they were all about winning last year, they would have done it last year. But they were all about appeasing Debo's ego last year. This year, Guerendo's going to run the Debo plays better than Debo, and people are going to then go on, their whatever channel or wherever they're spouting and be like, Kyle Shanahan should have used him last year. And it's like, yeah, he probably should have. All right, that's it, man. We're an hour and 41 minutes into our stream, and it's time for me to go hit the links.
There you go. Hit them straight, Larry. Have a great day today. You got Kevin and Ben. You're with your sons in Scottsdale. I mean, father-son time doesn't get much better than that outside of, reading some books in kindergarten. So we're both getting our dad points today. We absolutely are. Good for us. Good for our kids. Teach the children. Let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. And
make sure your golf bag's loaded up with beers.
100%.
There you go.
I can't wait till I can drink with my kids. I haven't even thought about that. I mean, they're 5 and 3. I hadn't thought about drinking with them.
Well, that's good. If you had thought about drinking with them, there'd be a knock at the door right now.
Larry,
Hi, I'm Pam with Child Protective Services, and I'm a big fan of the Wake Up Show. And I'm here to see Damon.
Yeah.
Mr. Bruce, could you step outside? Could you step outside? We're gonna walk. We'd like to go for maybe a little walk.
Come this way, sir. Come this way. Larry, go have a great time in Scottsdale, man. Enjoy some baseball. Looking forward to your Scottsdale updates. I don't really know. I have almost no interest in the fact that spring training is underway, and maybe your coverage will suck me in a little. So that's what I'll be looking forward to. Like and subscribe, our good friends, to the Plus, to the Krug Show. If you've done one, go ahead and do the other. Like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Camelback Mountain. I tell you, there's one time Pablo Sandoval, he decided to run up Camelback Mountain, and he said, I'm going to be in great shape this year. And then all of a sudden, spring training broke, and he was still 64 pounds overweight. But, he had that one jog up Camelback Mountain that everybody talked about. I said, oh, Gwyneth Knapp is writing about it. And look at now all of a sudden we got all people ready to look at Pablo run up the mountain. Isn't that exciting?
Damon, I'll tell you, I don't play a lot of golf, but I was playing fantasy golf a few years back, and I had to scour at the last second for which PGA Tour player had ripped up an ACL. And I'll tell you, thank you, Brandel Chambly.